I think that was more when I used to do morning pages, which is supposed to be free association.
Yeah.
Um,
We got that book over there on the shelf.
the
Artist Way.
The Artist Way.
Yeah.
It's yeah, but I never read The Artist Way. Somebody just tells you to do morning pages, and then you do morning pages, and you don't really know how it applies in the larger framework of the book.
I haven't read it either. I just know Emily has it, and so we're the same. Like, it makes sense. I don't need to read it.
You don't need to read it. I got it.
It's 200 page. I get it.
I'm stretching. It's stretching. I felt like I got too good at it, where it wasn't like. I think there's supposed to be maybe I'm wrong because I haven't read the book, but it felt like there's supposed to be a little more resistance in terms of like you're supposed to be tugging on something a little bit, but I got so good at free associating on page.
Yeah.
There was nothing there. My brain and the words were disconnected, and you go, that's a little nothing.
You really think you could write something that's not this totally like not? It's just. I bet it's got to be in there somewhere.
It's got to be in there.
Can you share an example of what you would look at on the page? You'd be like, that's not in there.
What do you mean?
Like I think what I'm hearing you say is like you could get so good at just writing that you'd look back later and be like, that's not even what's going on inside me. That's just much. Is that what you're saying? Or
right. I stopped using punctuation, so I was just literally writing one word after another, and it wasn't related to. My consciousness and the words I was writing down were tenuous, the connection between the two. And so I just felt like this isn't doing anything. I'm not like putting anything in order. I'm not putting I'm not putting thoughts in order. There's nothing happening. And I think there's just supposed to be a little more I don't know. Is that the right? I think that's the right word. I think there's supposed to be like a little awareness of what's happening between your brain and your pen and your page. And so I just got into the habit of journaling instead, and I feel like that is sufficient writing warm-up, and I am putting ideas in order and trying to be coherent. And I think joke writing and a lot of creative work is about making coherent things. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
There's some dreamy stuff that probably, I don't know.
And that's kind of back to the jam thing, because like when I started out writing songs and really focused on that for like 20 years, and then just got into jamming later, and I feel like whatever you just said, like, coherent things like a jam, the nice freeing thing about it is it can just be like, I started jamming with people recently that just make like textures and sounds, and it really probably doesn't say anything to anyone ever, but it's just like
right,
kind of more like the Jungian, like unconscious kind of shit. Like,
right.
And I feel like when I get into that, just nonsense, nobody would ever want to hear it. But then when I go back to focused writing, like I feel like I've come like they complement each other in some way, like left brain, right brain.
For sure. And now that I'm saying it out loud, this is a thing that I have been saying since I've been journaling, but I am also these days feeling less mentally elastic, so maybe I should do a little more jammy writing. But
I mean, journal. It sounds like either one's fine if you're just writing. I mean, journaling. If I understand what you're saying, journaling's like, here's what happened today, or like you're actually saying like, I'm Cody and I'm having a life experience. Whereas like the other one can just be like, just whatever the fuck. And I love doing that in the morning, because I feel like no matter how random you try to make it, if it comes out of you, it's like in there somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah,
no,
I'm
agreeing with. I'm disagreeing with
you know?
myself. I am disagreeing with the thing I just said. As I sort of realize, I'm like, where does the cool stuff come from? Because it's certainly. These days it feels like I'm a little more blocked up, even though I am sitting down and writing a lot. So I am reconsidering the thing I just said, and maybe I'll try to free write a little more.
Yeah, and that's kind of what this is. You're just encouraged to contradict yourself, go on tangents, never come back. It's kind of this is the jam. It's like
the jam.
It's long form. It's just whatever.
Uh-oh.
No, it's good. I just checked.
Okay.
I'm just paranoid we're not going to be recording, but everything's
We
good.
are recording. Okay.
Fossilized trees.
Fossilized trees. So you start with something organic, and it becomes, and then sometimes the tree just decomposes, and you don't have and sometimes the tree gets fossilized. And I don't know what that process is, but I think that's like a lot like material, where sometimes you have this organic idea and it's good once or twice or 3 times, and then it just sort of decomposes. And sometimes you have a good idea and it just like gets stronger over time, and that's sort of the material that goes into the act.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of how you know, or that's one way to know. It's like if I'm still excited, if I can still feel it after I've been saying it a year, or I'm connecting new things with it, that's a keeper. Whereas if it's just something that's a new thing that's happened to me, where the first time I say it's the best and then it goes down. And I almost feel like that means I'm on the right track, being like more of a rigid writer in the beginning.
Right.
But then I think I see other people that they come out of it in their first few years, they're just like, here's what happened today, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I think my opinion is those people should try to move more towards discipline. Like we're always kind of trying to, it's always moving. So you got to like, you never figure it out. You know, you always need to go try some new shit.
Like, I think that's
learn a new
instrument. That's part of the creative process. Is like, because I'll go to a workshop or I'll watch a comic at open mic, and they're so dedicated to saying all the words that they meant to say that it feels very inorganic. And so the recommendation to them would be try to say it like you would tell a friend. But then there's the people who are tell a friend type comics who like try to do this happened to me today, and it's like, okay, well, try to write that like a joke.
Yeah.
And so it just depends on what your preference is, and then doing the opposite of your preference.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't know, you give people advice, and then I don't know, you can stay on your own path forever, and then maybe it just works out over time. But I think if you're like, I don't know, if I'm trying to give people feedback and you like see something that it's not working, you go, what are you doing? And what's the exact opposite of that?
Yeah. Yeah. When you say, you said something like write it like a joke or something in there.
Well, just say, sometimes it's just like this happens.
Set up punch. Is that what you mean? Or
no, like script it. Instead of going up there and trying, it's a lot of time it's mush.
Script it means like write it down, or at least say it to yourself.
Say it to
in
yourself.
The car or something.
Yeah, because a lot of times somebody will go up there and say it like, I don't know. Like Leah Garth's great at like saying something that happened to her today, and it's like very much clearly, she's writing something in her head.
Yeah.
But then
never to be said again.
Never to be said again.
Not one word.
And you go, well, how do you nail that sort of thing down? Which I guess she's the better. No, she's not a good example because she's so good at the thing that she does. But there are people who are trying to do the thing that Leah does, and it doesn't work. And then you go, well, you got to sort of nail these words into place. And sometimes just the comfort with the material of like saying it a lot makes it funnier over time. Do you feel? What genre of music do you think comedy is most like?
Oh man, I mean, I think it's very similar to all of them, and I'm trying to move more towards like jazz or improv right now because I know that's served me well in my other, like my feeling for this podcast is that music and comedy are really the same thing. If you go far enough, it's like sounds and rhythm and connecting your ideas. So like whatever my standard of like what is, I tried to write songs for like 10 years. It was so important to me, like figure out how to write a song. And then I eventually got to where I felt like I could do that for me. I'm not saying other people think they're good, and now I've reached a point where I can kind of just set a bunch of instruments and just whatever state I'm in, it's like the morning pages, I can capture something that's, I think like meets what I'm trying to do. So, but it's just a fleeting sketch of that moment. And then to me, that's a really exciting place to be, instead of like, here's the thing I wrote 20 years ago that I'll execute the same. So for me, for comedy, I'm trying to get to where I can generate funny things on the fly, that this is an opportunity to practice that, but also taking more risks, more crowd work, stuff like that. So I think it really depends. Like I listened to a Roy Scovel interview recently with him and Pete Holmes, and they both are like, it's like jazz. It needs to be like jazz, where like, a jazz song, you start out with like the melody and then you end with the melody, but in the middle, it's just like whatever the fuck is that moment.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of I want my comedy to be more like that, because that's where I feel like I'm going to grow. But then it might get to be some point where it's like too far that way.
Too sloppy.
Yeah, because like I feel like when you have mentioned that in the last few years that like, getting ready for your special and learning how to write set lists, like that was kind of you went off on this whole journey that to me seems to be like very jazz. Like you were like very jazz when I started, or just like experimental. I don't know if jazz kind of has its own like. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be swinging, but it's like you're in the moment, and you're like, I don't know. It almost looks like you don't mind getting interrupted by somebody because maybe something funny will happen there. Mm-hmm. Whereas most of the people at open mics, when somebody shouts something out, I feel like they get terrified that they're going to get off their script.
Yeah.
So I think music and comedy, like this is a long-winded answer, but like it's all of them. Like it could be hip hop with like a ton of words, like really compressed, or it could be like, you know, I want to be more like jazz, like Miles Davis, where you take more pauses, improvise more. That's my taste right now, and that's what when I see myself getting into that, taking a long pause, and then a laugh comes, I'm like, that's where I want to be this year.
Yeah.
But then if we have a conversation next year, I might be like, all right, now I'm excited about this.
Yeah. No, I definitely like. I don't know. I'd like to. I mean, the hope was after like recording the special, which was very joke dense, is still. I'm still living in the shadow of it. Is still to like go back to being more experimental or more willing to get distracted on stage, which I still am. I'm sort of upset when like an idea doesn't work, and that will like sort of flower into a little riff or digression. But yeah, I did used to go up there with a lot less, and it was interesting and good sometimes, and bad more times than I probably admit to myself, but I also don't remember.
But I think that's why you're as good as you are now, is because you took all those risks and you failed and, you know, and succeeded at it. But I think to me, it's like that you're one of the people I'm kind of modeling that, you know, it's like you need to learn a little crowd work. You need to learn to like riff. You need to learn to write. There's all these different, like, what's your weakness? Focus on that this year, you know?
Focus on that this year. So, I'm sort of remembering like a compliment that Matt Matan gave me. How like I was really good at the pauses and the pregnant silences, and it was like it reminded him of like broadcasting, which is his forte. Yeah. So, and then I don't know. I just like sort of turned a corner, and it was definitely in preparation for the special to like get a thing that worked the whole time, but it's still not what I'm good at, I think. Or what is special about me is like, I don't know, I was like if I get like 5 B- laughs in a row, then I will derail and it will go better. I can sort of make something really explode out of that, I think. It's hard to judge yourself, especially if you've gone off your own track for a while.
But you're not going, well, you know, B- is technically above average, so let's just stay. No. Like there's that need to kind of like,
you want to do something,
even if it goes down to like D or F. It's like you're like, all right, this is not acceptable. I need to. Mm-hmm. That's exciting to be in the room for. I think that's part of what works about what you do. Is like, I mean, the comics love it because they're aware of like how much we're all saying the same shit. So, but then, you know, so everybody wants to be a comics comic. But then, I think, you know, making the audience laugh is just as important.
Yeah, I think it's like pop punk.
Two things that should never be.
No, like when you like do all your jokes in a row, and they're like, it's when you are like killing with all your jokes in a row, and you're saying the words in order, it does feel like a pop punk anthem to yourself. Right. They don't know it; they're hearing it for the first time. Yeah. But you're like, bam, 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 bam. You're really hitting it, and whatever it seems like to them, to me, it seems like I'm really being anthemic. Does that make sense?
And does that mean it does? But do you also mean like there's a little something fake about that? Because like pop punk is a little bit of like a fake. You know what punk means like originally. It's like the opposite of pop. So there's like that's a kind of an oxymoron.
Interesting. You're absolutely.
And I say
right.
that as a like I loved Green Day growing up and stuff too. So I
But it's very fun to perform.
But I also understand that like I had punk friends who were like, if you like Green Day, then we can't hang out because you know. And I'm like, why? Because people like it. Because a lot of people like it. It's bad now.
Yeah. I think
like alt comedy versus club comedy.
Right. I think. But it is fake. It is a little fake. Where you like, but it's very. If you get to your like 5 good jokes, 5 good routines, they're so fun to perform.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I realize. If you put a good joke after a bad joke, just the musicality of the good joke over the new guy So it's so like, and now watch me crush it.
Like you tried a new one.
You try a new one,
didn't
doesn't
go well,
B minus, and then if you have A+ jokes, you go watch this A+ joke, and then it's just bam, 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 and that's very fun to do. Yeah. And so it's about finding. It's not a middle area. It's finding like places to practice it's about finding like places where you're like allowed to practice and like having like your fun sets. Like you said, Noble Cider out in Leicester is like fun to do. It's fun to do comedy for free because there's no expectation. It's fun to do comedy for a longer time because you get to unravel a little bit and find the interesting sketches within the jam.
And the 20-minute, we've talked about that. The 20-minute, you can do whatever the fuck you want. No one paid. Doesn't have to be good. It's not going to be good. Even if you do your A+ stuff, like that's a really sweet spot because trying to do more longer sets, it's kind of like now if I'm doing a mic spot, it's almost like it should be about one thing or, one or two things. Mm-hmm. So it's like...
What should be one or two things?
Like I feel like if I'm going to do a 5-minute set now, I shouldn't be like do like 5 different topics. Like that's kind of how you start out. For me, it's like you start out trying to make the most of a 5 minutes. So you're kind of trying to do a late night set. Like, hey, here's my best kid joke. Here's my best marriage joke. Here's my best Asheville joke. Whereas when you start scaling into like longer sets, it's almost like you got to stay on those topics longer. I think an audience will get fatigued if you switch around every minute for too long. So it's like learning to stay in it.
Yeah.
We'll take more pauses. And to do that in an experimental way is just really, really nice.
Yeah, I think so.
So now that you've like kind of burned, I don't know, do you feel like you've burned what's your relationship with like, you did the special, it's like 45 minutes, right?
It's 45 minutes.
What a cool thing, by the way, too, that you like had that, you kind of, it's like you're going to film it on this day. So was it cool getting it all together and being like...
I had about 5 weeks to prepare.
Mm-hmm. What was like 15 years?
It was 15.
Or something.
I would call it 5 weeks.
Yeah, but then for the actual, like, it's going to be filmed. Yeah. That's 5 weeks is not a lot.
5 weeks isn't a lot. And I was really on top of my... It was filmed in March, and I was still very on top of my New Year's resolutions. And so... which always includes like more reading and writing and exercise or whatever. So I had like a writing regimen in place. And so I said, I'm going to spend week 1 of this 5 weeks making set lists, making possible set lists. And
for the whole thing? Like a 45-minute set list?
For a 45-minute set list for, I think I was trying to write like an hour a day, 5 days a week. Back then, and then I will spend week 5 of the 5 weeks doing the same thing, and it really worked out for me. So I did have like different. I think I was like, and I want a couple of things in there just for me, and it didn't make it.
Those things didn't.
Yeah, like the cool things that I'm talking about that maybe aren't great hitters, bangers, like not cool non-bangers. I wanted like 2 in there, and then I would build the set around it, and I just didn't. I was like, it's not worth it. It's not worth the risk of losing them.
Yeah.
And so
it was an idea that just didn't pan out.
Yeah, so it was all bangers, and it was fine. You go strong opener, put my big 3 in the middle, and my closer at the closer, and then build it around that.
Yeah.
Or the big 3, actually, I sort of, as I was brainstorming set list, I would sort of go, let's open with the big 3, and then I moved it down 1. You go, what joke will go before the big 3? And then like eventually it was in the middle of the set.
What are the big 3?
The big 3 are...
Nice Guy at the Deli?
Nice Guy at the Deli.
Hello, Fellow Human?
No, that was the... No.
That's the opener.
That became
title
the opener.
Track.
Yeah. Nice Guy at the Deli, scary guy pulling on the car door handle, and the Tootsie Roll.
Yeah. One nice guy, 2 creepy guys.
That's right. A nice guy one doesn't even...
They all happen at Eagles. One's in the parking lot.
Nice guy isn't even as strong... Doesn't have a strong punchline even. It's funnier in the middle than the end.
I've never said no is the big laugh. Like, or the comparing it to a doggy door.
I've never said it. I've never said no to the big laugh.
So you're kind of aware of like where the biggest pops are. I kind of feel like the biggest laugh doesn't always have to be at the end. I feel like that's almost becoming like a jokey joke thing. Like, comedy's changing real fast, and the biggest laugh has to be at the end. Set up, punch. I almost kind of feel like I kind of like it when the laugh's in the middle, and it kind of like it deviates from. That's surprising in itself in a way,
right?
To not structure everything so it's like it ends on the biggest laugh.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, you mostly probably should, but
the big three for me, the nice guy to creepy guys, it does like tune the audience in for like the rest of the jokes, and so I would do my strategy for 20-minute sets where people have paid is to do something that happened to me this week, and then the three jokes sort of tune them into who I am, or the three jokes get them back and sort of tune them in to who I am, and then I just do the rest of my jokes, and it's sort of smooth sailing.
So for the special, did one that happened that week? Or but that in general you try to do.
In general, I try to do.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like I feel that resonates with me in the sense that like it's a little more like jamming. It's a little more like before I just start saying the things that I'm going to pretend I'm saying off the cuff. We got to like this is where I am this week.
Yeah.
Like I feel like an audience really can sense, like even if you get up and just make fun of the room or the person before you or whatever, just any sort of little thing that's like this is happening now.
Yeah.
It can really make I feel like that makes a huge difference versus just immediately like, yep, well, one time and you just go into the script. I don't know. I feel like just watching it, that's like the biggest difference for me is having a little bit of like, this is really happening. I mean, it's different when you're filming a special. I feel like, I mean, I haven't done that, but I imagine it's more like press play on your act because you're just really trying to get it.
Yeah, and I even did a joke about the room but you don't want to try to do 6 minutes about something that happened to you that week. So I did a little joke about the bartender who I went to high school with, and then I did my hello fellow human joke, which is a pretty strong opener.
Yeah. And it's just like we've talked about that. I think it's like a lot of my favorite albums start off with an invitation. I think that comedy sets can be that way too. Like it's literally got a greeting in the name. Like, I don't know. I think that thematically that does. You start off with a hello. Yeah. And it's kind of like, I don't know. There's something about that.
Definitely. I remember it sort of being a revelation to me a long time ago in terms of like talk about your week was I saw a group out of Atlanta called Joca-Cola. It was a 5-pack of comedy. And it was
5 comedians?
It was 5 comedians. Chalet was the only one who still does it. But it was Mike Kaiser closed, and so when I do the 20-minute paid set, I'll go, or set where people paid to see you, I will say, I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me this week to keep it fresh for me, and then I'm going to do some jokes so I fulfill my contractual obligation. I'll actually say those words. I'll spell it out for them, give them a little structure. But I saw Mike Kaiser. He made fun of Shalewa, who went up right before him, and then he made fun of the room, and then he made fun of Greenville, and then he made fun of something that happened to him this week, and it was sort of like this widening aperture into his set.
Totally. That's amazing. Like telescoping it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so cool. It makes it feel very organic, even though there's like a strategy in place, which isn't organic, right?
Yeah. And part of the strategy is like, what's the moment, right?
Yeah, what's the moment? And it just widens out until he's into his material, and it feels like, oh, this all happened to him this week, and there's no way it did.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little, maybe, I don't know. So I just like to tell them, and that gives them the structure. And they go, and then watch for the change in the middle where I go, sometimes I say I'll apologize after the thing that happened to me, and then I'll say sorry and do some jokes.
Do you find that they kind of like that little meta thread, a little bit of that too?
Yeah, everybody likes a little meta.
You feel like people have gotten more that way since you started? Like now everybody's like, there's like podcasts, and behind the people are kind of more interested in hearing like you step outside of your act and comment on it.
I think it's important. I think we think so much about comedy, and then the audience doesn't think anything about comedy. And I'm not a great host at music hall. I'm a pretty good host at pulp. But at music hall, I really want them to know, which is our best mic in town.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really want them to know that we're all friends. I think that's important for me up top to like communicate to the audience. There's just some things that the audience I feel like they need to know. And maybe they don't, but I think it's important.
Yeah. No, I think a host should say some things about. It bothers me when a host just goes, "Here's my jokes. Here's the next comic." You gotta like if there's a headliner, you should say their name, try to get them clapping. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just some things behind the scenes that you gotta go. I don't know. I think it's important. Maybe it's not.
Yeah. That's what I feel about crowd work too. Is trying to get more into that. Is like what you said about telescope, like commenting, widening the lens at the top. That in between, like longer sets, you have a chunk on kids and a chunk on aging. That between doing crowd work, like by the end of like 7 minutes of things I've written, I can feel that there's like a glass screen starting to form. Like this is a streaming thing, and the phones are, and just it resets. Crowd work. You can kind of put a little crowd work in, and even if nothing funny happens, just the fact that you tried, that it works. And I've heard people be like, "Yeah, but you didn't. What if they don't laugh?" And it's like, well, just the attempt is still kind of. I feel like I see it, I guess we're all watching these shows, and then at the end of them, we probably all have like a different idea of what happened. You're always kind of projecting your own journey onto stuff. But, I'm always trying to watch. I think it's actually nice to watch a lot of people that are new and a lot of people that are experienced, because you can learn as much from like what isn't working.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely, it's not an every night sort of thing, but you can watch the mic once a week. You can watch Tuesday night or whatever. I'm not going to watch all
Wednesday the same
night.
bits.
I'm not going to watch Wednesday night. I will watch Tuesday night. It's like a positive thing to like.
Because Wednesday's more people. Is that why? Why Tuesday? Because Wednesday comes after Tuesday.
Yeah. No, it's just easier to sit. It's. I think Tuesday is very low pressure, and it's easier to sit in the back pew and just sort of.
Tuesdays at the Odd, which I love.
Tuesdays at the Odd, which we love.
Yeah. I feel like it can just be, whatever the fuck happened today at the Odd.
Yeah.
And I want to get to where that Wednesday can be more like that, and it can still be at least be a B-.
Right. But you still, and it's good just to watch because you yourself get so little stage time that you might as well pretend, you might as well put on your empathy shoes and pretend you're the one performing. There's a lot to learn on the way home. That's one advice that I give to new comics is like, think about your set on the way home. What could have gone better? And there is very little stage time. So you might as well like, and what could have they done better?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you're just like 10,000 hours, this idea. It's like, I mean, it doesn't mean you have to, like, if you're like doing 10,000 hours of boxing, like some of that can be watching like videotapes of classic fights.
Yeah.
I don't know why I use boxing as an example. I don't even, but, studying it as a third, that still counts as part of the thing. I mean, you obviously want to have a balance of like writing, watching it happen live, watching specials. And then, how important do you think it is to actually like absorb, to know the specials, the history of comedy, what's happening now, all the Carlin, Richard Pryor, Lenny Bruce, like how important do you think it's, do you have thoughts on that?
I do have thoughts on it, and I think it's much better. I don't know. What are my thoughts? I think there's a possibility that watching too many comedy specials makes the comedy community at large a little too homogenous.
Yes.
Like comedy nerds, and they're like, and I watched Mark Norman's special, and I watched Shane Gillis' special, and I watched Kyle Kinane's special, and then you're just like writing jokes like Mark Norman and Shane Gillis and Kyle Kinane, and there's something very special about, and I'm jealous of it, about people who aren't really into comedy, even if they say there are, like comics who don't watch comedy. I have some opinions about these certain people. That it just makes them a little more unique if they haven't watched comedy. And now that's not always the case.
You think you can not watch any comedy and still figure it out how to do a good version of it? Like, you just, as an outsider,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I do too. But I feel like most people tend to think you got to really study it, and that means knowing it all.
I have certain people that I'm thinking of right now, and I have criticisms of each one of them that are sort of related to their non-knowledge of comedy, but that doesn't mean they're bad comics. I think sometimes if you don't watch comedy, then maybe you're like ripping off people in your own scene, which can be a little frustrating.
Yeah.
And
that's part of the reason I don't watch a lot of specials is I don't want all the jokes getting in there. But I go to our shows and it's like I don't think I'm really stealing, but it's like it's all going in there. So I do have concerns about that, you know, because I've seen things I've said get said again. But then I'm also just trying to let go of the idea that it's like any of it really belongs to us. I mean, you know, there's theft and there's also like I don't know, you got to sell it. I don't know. Sorry, I derailed you, but
no,
you're saying
okay.
it's not necessarily necessary to like have a study it all, know everyone, like know all the Richard Pryor and like I don't know, like
that's I think it's weird the comedy, and I was a comedy nerd, and I still am sort of a comedy nerd, and like I don't know. There's just like people who are like such a personality that like it would be like Hillary if she like watched more. Why would she need to watch more?
Yeah, her approach is kind
of idiosyncratic. Is that the word?
Yeah, I don't quite know what that means. I know the word.
Yeah, it's just very unique.
Yeah.
Not like anybody else. And maybe it's like somebody else, and I don't know who.
I feel like some people are characters, where it's like Hillary just kind of like walks in a room and starts talking. There's not even a comedy show happening. People are like, whoa, who's that?
Yeah.
And that's like there's so many ways to do it. And there's people that are like that. And I feel like I'm definitely not like that.
Right.
Which is probably why I leaned on like writing more. And I'm jealous of that. But
yeah. I don't. But then I'm talking out of my ass because I have been over to her apartment.
That's what the podcast is all about.
Great.
Yeah.
I've been over to her apartment and she is watching comedy on Netflix. So it's not like she's not being.
You like checked her.
Yeah.
Recently, when she like goes to the bathroom, you like recently watched like.
Yeah, I mean, PD, Hillary, they all watch. Everybody. I don't know. Not everybody watches comedy, but I'm sort of. There are people who are just like don't need to watch comedy? Question mark. And there's some people who do. Question mark.
Comedians, you mean?
Comedians.
Yeah. Yeah, you mean like some people? Maybe.
Some people are so bad when they start.
Yeah,
you go. Why don't you check out some good comedy and try to do that?
Have you seen what it is when it's good? Like, have you?
Yeah, and then you have to like push your boat away from the dock eventually. I don't know.
Yeah, because there's a time where I was almost stressed out. Like with music, I felt like, well, if I want to write songs, I got to know all the Bob Dylan albums. I got to know the blues guys that started before that, and so I spent a lot of time doing that with music, but with comedy, it's almost like extra stressful just trying to get out 3 nights a week, do all the things. And it's like, now I got to pressure myself to watch every fucking new special.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like for me, right now I'm trying to just watch, if I'm going to watch something, I'd rather just watch something old. Yeah. Because I feel like in general, I'd rather be influenced by things that have stood the test of time and aren't happening now. Yeah. Like maybe if it's like the new Shane Gillis special and then I see everywhere I go in the region, everybody's talking and moving like Shane Gillis. I'm like, all right, I should maybe not try to let too much of that in because it's
yeah.
And I mean, he's great. Like I love Shane Gillis's jokes, but it's like if I am going to be accidentally, subconsciously influenced by people, it seems like I'm already kind of a generic white dude. Like I don't want to have the same influences as all the other generic white dudes.
Absolutely. You told me that metaphor about the Berlin Jazz. Tell the people at home.
Oh yeah, one of my I've never looked up if this is true or not, but one of my great like jazz mentors in school was like that they didn't allow jazz albums in like Soviet Russia. And they only had like 4 or 5 albums that they smuggled in, like really good albums, and they just listened to those albums over and over again, and they could play amazingly. Mm-hmm. And that's actually how I do, how I absorb. Like I would rather listen to my favorite comedy album 100 times, than listen to 100 new.
Absolutely.
Special. Like I feel like I'm just I like being slow and like really just trying to get to know every little thing. To me, that's more fun. So it's in one way, it's like you got to go with what feels fun, because if you start making it something that's like you don't want to do it, then why are you even doing comedy? If you like invent a workout routine for yourself that you hate doing, it's destined to fail.
It's destined to fail.
You have to study it the way that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember like Jason Shoulder like started a podcast like way back when we both started comedy, and I remember listening.
Learning to fail.
Yeah, you remember it. You might have been on it. I don't know.
I
remember I just listened to it like once back then, and Grayson was on it, and I just listened, and I remember her being like, "I don't watch comedy," and that was like I'd never heard that before, and I was like, really a fan of hers. So I was like, whoa, that kind of like freed me. It's like, I don't have to watch it all to to learn how to do it good, you know?
And Grayson's another one of those idiosyncratic people who like just sort of I haven't seen anybody like Grayson who does comedy like Grayson, and she's very good at it.
And there's writing, and there's like facial expressions, and it's like, you know,
right, and it comes from other modes of her being good at other modes of performance. She was like a puppeteer.
Yeah,
she was like a child teacher, preschool or kindergarten or something, and I think that like really sort of seeps into her comedy, where how she talks to the audience, and it's funny to like talk to us like we're toddlers. She sort of uses that sort of vocalization, and like it's probably more worthwhile to get your influences from other styles of art and performance than other people are doing the same thing as you.
That's like like I've done a lot of like deep dives with, you know, guitarists, and a lot of my favorite guitarists were influenced by like horn players. Like they're trying to execute the exact lines on a guitar that a horn player did, and you're an imperfect mirror of that. So if you're trying to do horns on guitar, it's just going to come out like some guitar playing that we haven't heard before. Whereas if you're like, I'm trying to play like Eric Clapton or whatever, you know, everybody's trying to play like Eric Clapton, so you end up being one of like so, you know, these are like these loose theories that are guiding me. I mean, and the thing I like about comedy though is I feel like it takes so much longer to get good at it. There's a few people that will figure it out quick that just like really irk you, but it's such a long like I think 15 is like a pretty good number. Like I think I'm like by 15 years I think
so.
That's like, and especially if you've managed to get, you know, you've lived in different cities, that's obviously like the best way to do it. That's not available for me, so I'm trying to just do that through like touring, you know, expanding the city radius each year. I'm hoping I can get...
What do you mean the best way to do it?
Well, I think the best way to like accelerate your growth is like, you have to commit to getting up as much as you can, but then also, and getting longer sets, but then doing it as many different places.
Right.
And I feel like I haven't never moved to a new city and done comedy, but I imagine every time you do that, it's like, that's just going to level you up. Like you go to some other place far away and you do all those reps in that place for a year. Even if it's like a bad place, like versus just staying in the same scene, like you're just gonna get
and that's where the naturals are a blessing. Like the guys who are the people who are like good at comedy right away. That's where it is like you know, it does irk you, but you go, well, I gotta step my game up. I don't get to like go to a new city and compete against those people, but you know, every once in a while there's like a Jess or a Moira or a Dante. I think Dante's pretty funny.
Yeah. Agree 100% on all three.
Yeah. And you just go...
He's the newest one. Damn.
Fuck, I got good again.
Yeah. And you're like, you've been doing it like for years somewhere else.
Ryan Gordon. A lot of the folks. So that's like a nice thing. And then you just, it pushes you a little bit more. You go, I'm not gonna bomb going after this guy.
Yeah.
And you might.
And I bombed after...
Isn't that the exciting thing about
I don't know how many times I bombed after Moira. The number of times that she and I performed back to back, and then we're both standing there by the bar, and then somebody comes up and is like, "You're the greatest thing I've ever..." She's up there, you know, and I'm just like...
I did fine.
I mean, yeah. But I like all of that, you know. I like all of the hardness and the humiliation, because I don't want it to be too easy, because there's too many new... You know, it should be hard. We talked about that, like there's new waves of comic. And it's like, well, who's going to be allowed? Like 5-year mark, 10-year mark. I mean, I haven't even made it to the 10-year mark yet. I mean, it's like, who's left?
Who's left after the 10-year mark?
Yeah, who's left after the 5-year mark? And what is being left, like what does still doing it mean? Because I don't, you know, I think one thing we have in common is like we really believe in the reps and like the work ethic of it. Like you got to commit to the, you know, if you're like, I've been doing comedy for 14 years. It's like, yeah, but you go out like every 2 months. I mean, that is not...
Josh Merrill.
Okay. Hey, Carlos. I'll be cutting this out. I'll cut this part.
Carlos doesn't do stand-up.
He says he does. He says he does. When was that last set? When was the last time you did a set? When was the last time? Just like ballpark the number of years. June got that for Christmas. She's really good at it.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, really?
I was I asked for sort of stuff like that for holidays.
As a kid?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's too big for us. I tried it, so I've actually never tried pogo sticking. But apparently it's hard at first, and then, it's almost like hacky sack, where you have to keep the gravity's but you have to try to keep it in like a perpendicular to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
We hacky sack a lot. I don't know if you...
I tried to be a hacky sack kid, but I don't know if I was ever like, I was in a prodigy or anything. But I feel pretty confident about my pogo stick ability.
Yeah. Well, I guess we finished that chapter of the conversation.
What was it about? No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just.
All right. Well, in the vein of pogo sticking, no. One of those things that I've been thinking about a lot is. There's a type of person who with content creation.
Yeah, that was on my list, which I never look at. But
okay, I would like. Yeah. It sort of occurs to me that there is a certain type of person that is trying to make something happen with content creation, for like most of their lives, and they're like trying to find a vehicle for self for the publicity of self.
Attention.
For attention. Yeah. And it's not everybody.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of comedians who have a backstory. Macon started at AB Tech Culinary because he wanted to be like not an Emeril Lagasse type, but he wanted to be like a celebrity chef instead of and I think it was more like the celebrity side of things.
No, yeah, they said that that degree skyrocketed when those shows got popular.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So that's I don't know. There's like these types of people who and you go, are my intentions pure?
Yeah, and what does pure even look like if you're up there trying to be like everyone should be looking at me? I mean, how is that ever really pure? Yeah, you can make it given like a bunch of money to organizations, or there's some element of narcissism, I think, involved in it, but also trying to connect.
Yeah, there is some sort of craft involved, which is like the noble part of comedy, right? Yeah. You go, look at all these things I made. Yeah. But look at me perform the things I made is that nasty? Is that a nasty part of my soul?
If everybody's having a great time and you're learning how to speak your truth in a way that brings the room together, I think that is a noble pursuit, and it's so hard. But I like what you're saying about content, because I'm really trying to figure out, I have no problem with Matt Rife, for example, or like Dane Cook, that's a different time, but you asked me how often I post, and I've thought about that. Right now I post as often as I'm excited to post, and I probably would post more if I felt like people were enjoying it more. Yeah. But I'll be like, oh, I got a cool reel for this podcast or whatever, then I'll post when I'm excited to. But I don't feel like I need to post every day. But I do feel like I need to post more than 0. And I don't know that that's good. Yeah. And that feels really new. That in order to get booked, I do feel like I need to have some stuff up that makes me look somewhat legit. And I don't know if that's just my own getting caught up in the times or whatever. But eventually it seems like at the rate people are posting, there's going to be no one left to even watch anything real soon, because there's just so many hours going up.
Well, I think
bad stand-up. Open, just how do you even find a good thing anymore?
Right, yeah. So everybody's posting their awful little crowd work clip that doesn't work. And then all of a sudden, you see the ratio of good stand-up clips to bad stand-up clips is not... It's not a good thing for stand-up. It's not a good, if I'm a normal non-stand-up person scrolling reels on Instagram, if I watch enough bad stand-up clips, then I'm going to scroll past stand-up when it comes up, and then sort of people's interest in comedy goes down.
I would love it if people's interest in comedy was too high.
It is too high.
I thought when I joined almost a decade ago, it was peaking in this insane way that it was going to go back down. It just keeps... I think people like it too much, and it's people need to stop starting it.
Well, everyone. There's the pendulum that people talk about in terms of what's popular, but it also brings new people into the limelight, and then there's people who haven't started stand-up who finally see themselves represented by Hannah Gadsby, and those people start doing stand-up. Right. And then the pendulum swings to a Shane Gillis type, and then there's people who feel like, oh, I have this guy's point of view, so I should do stand-up.
Yeah, he's the only one that can make it funny, by the way.
He's the only one. But like, and whatever way the pendulum swings, there's going to be a new famous person who empowers a new group of comics to start, and just the fall-off rate for the new comics starting isn't fast enough.
Yeah, right. You end up with everybody like bumping around in the room, and the exit's blocked. And
40 people signed up.
Yeah.
hopefully the
fire
fires.
If everyone just burns up, then
Yeah, hopefully there's more fires and open mics so that there's less comics. We've all said it. We've all thought it.
But I mean, as far as like your intent, like, do you wrestle with that? Like, I mean, I definitely, when I post on the internet, I don't even post on Facebook because I do feel like there's a part of me that's like, I'm a dad and I'm supposed to be like, it's my kid's first day at school and the birthday party was great. And when I'm like, look at me, that I feel like older, like, and like people were going like, I do feel like, a little like shamed for that, like me going like, look at me, I should be talking about my family or God or whatever. So I seriously you
should be talking about God online.
I know, I mean, that's what but at the end of the day, it's like I'm trying to live my dream, so like I'm not too worried about it. But I mean that, when our kids get upset and we like encourage them to maybe have a conversation or draw a picture about what's upsetting them, it calms them down, and it gets the art is a way to really like process. So I mean, I'm not saying anything new here, but I do believe that like if everybody's out there trying to create something and speak their thing, that's a good thing, and then I think it should be like, well, if you're start getting a lot of laughs and more popularity, like the meritocracy idea is that the people that bubble to the top of that are the best and most deserved, but we know that's not always the case. And then if you are good at treating it like a business or editing videos or content, maybe you can even like get a leg up, and you have people who are like the best at it, but they don't have a business sense, or they don't know how to work the tech or stay organized, and then they don't get the opportunities that they deserve. So I mean, there is a lot of messiness in there. I mean, I don't really know what to do about it. I try to help other people when I can, if I feel like I can help, with that. Like Larry did a set at Burger Bar for his birthday, and I was like, I'm just going to record his fucking set and give it to him, because he's not thinking about that, He's got a lot of other things on his mind. Yeah. So, yeah, trying not to feel like a shitty narcissist is hard. Right. I do struggle with that, No, like,
but I think
look at me, listen to me.
I think in terms of, well, it's also just like you've expressed this, that it is like fun. It is part of the learning how to do stand-up in the modern stand-up age, is chunking it up, putting it up. It's just part of the community of, well, it's part of what we're all do, or not all of us. It's just part, you're learning. You're learning to do a podcast. You're learning to post reels. There's like that aspect of it.
Yeah. And I waited like about 7 or 8 years before I started any of that. So just let that record show. I didn't put my shit up the first years. I'm sorry, I'm interrupted. Go ahead.
No, I agree with that sentiment. But I also think it's not the worst thing in the world to not post your private life or your personal life. You don't have to post your kids.
My kids shouldn't be online against their choice.
Right. And also, it's just like that's your special thing, and people don't have to see that. That doesn't have to be your public-facing persona. I think it's nice to like keep your private life private. If you have like a nice day, you don't have to post about it.
Yeah,
that's what journaling. I think that's what's very useful about journaling. I try to pick a 15-minute. Maybe I try to pick a specific moment in the day and try to write 2 pages about it, and it makes me feel pretty good about my life. It's like, oh, look at this nice life that I have. I don't need to show people at every turn. I made a concerted effort to stop posting so much in the last few years. And then, but then there should also be, I should post more stand-up, because it's, I don't know, part of the job. But I don't have to. I also don't want to annoy people. I don't want to go this guy again.
Yeah, I know.
And so it's like a hard line to walk. I've only posted about my special once.
Yeah, I know. You are
sorry, everybody involved.
And I do worry about just getting oversaturated or annoying, or just like, oh, this fucking guy in my feed again. But I feel like it's just so much content that people just scroll past it. No one's really getting that annoyed. And there's people that I grew up with that like would never get to see me do it, so they can kind of see it on the internet.
Yeah. I think that's what most first years are posting for, is to like, look what I'm doing now.
The cred, like having comedy in the name, like for me, it's like I didn't want anyone to come I still prefer to perform for audiences of people I don't know. I mean, it's just. I'm more honest, it's not, you don't feel that weird tension. Like I'm worried if the person I know personally is going to
for sure
be bad. Like I don't, But yeah, I mean, just like, to me, it's like just creating that body of work, whatever feels weird today. It's like, I really just love to see it all. And maybe that's like tied up in my own like self-worth or something. Like, see, I'm an artist. I've done all this stuff. And it's like some other weird thing I need to prove to myself where, I mean, really, I don't know. At the end of like Siddhartha or wherever, like none of us are really supposed to be. If you really reach enlightenment and your fullest potential, you're not doing any of this shit. You're sitting by the river, like listening to people or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's like there is something about it that's kind of wrong, or like everyone should another like middle-aged white guy. Everyone should really be spending a little more time listening to one of us. It's like, I mean, it's like flawed. Just the whole premise is
at the end of the day you gotta go. It's fun to make stuff,
and you meet people. I think that's like people. The big like it's my wife, all my best friends from like I've known is music, and now it's starting to get where like comedy is like, man, I know all these cool people. People at work are like very much like me. They're white people that do IT that are my age, and it's like through comedy I know all these other people, and I have a much greater awareness of like different experiences that people are experiencing than I did when I started comedy. So that's good. And I was going out there going like, I want to be on stage with the attention, but then as a side effect, I learn about all these different experiences, and that seems good. Even though it wasn't, my intention was selfish, but good shit happened.
No, it's like a good thing to be a part of a community, and it's very healthy, I think. Even if there's like a lot of politics and bad feelings involved, at the end of the day, you're still part of like this group who sort of cares about you. It's whatever the amount of care is, it sort of adds up. It's cumulative. It might not be the way you care about a child or a wife or whatever, but it is like a group of people like me.
And people care about, some people in the community are cared about collectively more than others. I think you're cared about quite a bit. Like your value is not in question. Other people, if they left, like I don't know if anybody would go like, were they okay?
I mean, I understand what you're saying to me, and I agree, but also
that's almost like the measure of how good you are is like how much would people notice if you didn't?
Right. But if you leave, it's not going to stop either. So yes, people do care about me a good amount, and I appreciate that care, but it's also nice. It's also, humbling to like, and if I leave, the comedy scene won't collapse. There's not a single person who would make the comedy scene collapse by leaving. But there is something about like being the center of attention also, where like I like to go contra dancing and no one's the center of attention. Maybe the boys who are better at dancing or the girls who are better at dancing are a little bit sought after, but it is nice to like disappear into a group.
It's like a shared.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's kind of my sense of like God or whatever. It's just like the level that we're all kind of part of this one organism. Like all the ants are really just one organism. And each ant's like a toenail or something. Like, and I think comedy at its best, like my favorite performers oftentimes seem like they can really get more into that. It doesn't. the ego does kind of go away. Even if you're telling your experience, there's a sense that you're kind of like, people are seeing themselves in it.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you're up there talking about like, I've seen like Moira be like, yeah, being trans was hard in this way, but does it in a way where people are like, yeah, I was also like, didn't feel accepted,
mm-hmm.
or like I could be myself. So there's like, at its highest level, you can still kind of do that
mm-hmm.
somewhat. I mean, it's hard, and it's a moving target because every moment of every night with every different crowd is like,
right.
You can never recreate it's like in Groundhog Day when he tries to like fall in love with the lady again, but what you can't recreate. There's like an element of it that's kind of like, you get better at it, but there's some of it that's just always out of your control.
Yeah,
and it lines up.
There's a lot of spiritual lessons to learn, and that's like one of the cooler ones, I guess. Is like it's going to be different from night to night. You're not going to hit the same way, and you sort of have to let that affect you less.
Because there's people like we talk about Hillary and Macon. Like I feel like they are almost the exact same person on and off stage. Like I feel like they finish the set and then they go sit down at the booth, and it's like just as it's like
wild and scary,
and I mean
respectively.
I want to say like you are maybe like the most far in the other direction, like as far as like I'm sure people have told you this a million times that like after you get off and you're that guy, and then you dissolve back into sand or whatever you called it. Like
a dead fern.
People will come up to you at the bar and be like, "Hey, let's have some more of that," and you're like, I won't even like. So what is that about? Like, I mean, did you do you know what I'm talking about? Does this make sense?
No, yeah, I definitely.
Like, are you aware of that? Did you feel like, you started comedy maybe feeling like, you live a double life, or there's like two sides of you? I mean, I don't know. You have kind of a pretty stark dichotomy of like, because you're not the one talking and shouting when we're all just standing around.
Oh, right, for sure. No, that's it's gross.
Trying to get attention when it's not agreed upon,
disgusting. No, I don't know. I'm a little. I think I'm good one-on-one, and then if there's like if there's three or more people, I can just sort of disappear into the background, and that's my preferred mode.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your question? Well, do you have a question attached
I guess
to that?
The question is like, you're aware of like that. Can you just kind of speak to? Do you have any thoughts on like your stage persona versus like the version of you that walks around in the world? Outside. It just seems like it's a pretty. You don't. I mean, I don't know.
I was thinking about like in terms of like the handful of people who like approach me after shows and have used like similar language to like I think we'd be friends, and you go like, and I especially disappear into myself when I've gotten that sort of feedback where you go, are you asking to be my friend right now? I don't know. It's like such a turn off. Even though that's sort of what you want. You want to like to create like this parasocial relationship. You want to be this guy that people, or at least a certain type of person, whoever your fan base would be, you want them. you want to cultivate. You want people who want to see you. But I really don't want.
You don't want to be standing in the lobby after your show, like talking to everybody, getting pictures.
It's so bad. And you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to be. I remember going to. I've met Rory Scovel a handful of times, and he's so charismatic off stage, and he's like ready to do a bit with you. Yeah. And you go, that's the way to be. That's how, even if you're not funny, you want people to want to see you again. You want comics to want to see you again in their town. And I remember being in Columbia or outside of Columbia once, and I'm just like standing in the most cornery of corners, just trying to. I'm not trying to do anything.
You got what you wanted. You did the stage set, right?
I would like to be more like a Rory Scovel off stage. Yeah. And I could work on it. I could definitely work on it.
But that's not you. So
it's not me, and but you should. I don't know. You should still work on the professional edge of things, the professional side of things, where you go, how do you get asked back? You're nice in the room. And then you send your little thank you emails. Yeah. And I do that a little better than interface with people that I don't know. But
maybe that's enough though. Maybe you don't have to go out and do the lobby hang or whatever if you ever are in that position, or do the merch stuff. I don't know, because that doesn't appeal to me either. It's like you just gave everybody everything you had. Now you got to go and then do it for another hour. Like that just sounds so exhausting.
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple, the very attractive, cute couple that like me in Bristol who come out to see me, which is nice. But even that is just like,
I know it's like what?
Thank you. And then I like go talk to Sean or John or whoever. Yeah. I don't know
how to do it. Yeah, I totally resonate with me. It's like exactly what you're supposed to want in all the cities, to have like a lot of couples like that. But then there's just one in one city, and you're like, this is like uncomfortable. I
hate this.
But this is what I kind of like. By the ways that other people are doing it, this is what I need to like cultivate more of there. I don't know, maybe the podcast could be a way they can just be at home and listen. They can feel like they're having intimate conversations with you, but you don't have to actually share space with them. But I guess what I was kind of trying to get at though also, and that was all good, but like, where's the other guy come from? Like, because I imagine your first time you walked on stage, I think there's like a video of you like kind of doing one-liners from way back. It seems like at some point the other guy really like, the guy with all the vocal variety. Yeah, and like I don't know, like what is.
I think I always had the vocal variety. No,
does he come out anywhere else? Like you feel like you could be in like a movie or something, and you could like be the stage guy, or is it?
I mean, I notice when I've noticed when I'm turning it on, but it doesn't necessarily come out anywhere special. I think it's a little annoying. I think he's a little annoying.
I could see like.
So like, why would I turn it on?
Yeah,
interpersonally. Where, and also I just want, people to like me for me. And so,
But is that you? Isn't it like just, is it like.
This is me.
But I feel like the other one is too, but it's like, I don't know. I know it's a hard question, but it's like. Because it doesn't feel like it's not you, but it feels like. Maybe it's like contextual where it's like, this is like. I can become this, it's like, isn't there like fucking. Jim and the Holograms, or isn't there like Eleanor was telling me there's some name of the genre in her books where you become like the superhero or whatever for the task at hand, but then once that's done, you don't really need to be
right,
like He-Man or whatever, Lion-O with the sword. These analogies are bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Where's the other guy come from? I don't know, it's just like a thing that you cultivate over time. I don't know. It's funnier than me. It's funny, so you want to be the funnier guy.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know, I can start in low mode, and that's like a good thing to practice also, where you just like try to talk like yourself for the whole time.
I've noticed that. I think that's something I've seen you do a lot more in the last few years, is you go up like almost sleepy, like, hey.
Yeah.
And it's like a new audience might not know the range that you're capable of.
Yeah.
But those of us that know are like, ooh, we're starting like real small, which is it's like a Nirvana song or something where it's like, it's going to get loud, maybe. But it's going to be a lot more exciting when there's a dynamic range than if you just come out yelling. It's like, where do you even go from there?
That's really tough too.
The only place you can go to contrast that is to become quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, you shouldn't start loud. That's a good point. Like I shouldn't start full volume because that's annoying. So yeah, you got to give them like 5 seconds of, I don't know, and then change real quick. But also I would like to bomb in more creative ways than just giving them low energy me, though. That's like something I think about. Like I'm not Chris Rock. I'm not trying to do the jokes as they
big
are.
As they could possibly.
Well, no, the way he practices is he does them no energy,
monotone, and then only if it gets a laugh.
Right, and then you keep that.
Then you start adding the voices.
Chris Rock to it.
Yeah,
but I don't want to be that. I would rather fail in like more improvisational ways. Where does he come from? Where does he go?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm putting my words on it, so I don't even know if that language resonates with you. As it like I'm talking about him like he is a separate guy. But
no, yeah, it's just me yelling.
There really are no like good words for it. Yeah. I mean, and like things like stage persona. I mean, I hate those words, but it's kind of hard. Like whatever happens up there is like this chemical. It almost feels like it's like a chemical reaction or something. And then it's like...
It's also cartoony. I mean, it's not to say that Hillary's not cartoony, but I don't want to...
But she kind of lives like a cartoon.
She lives like a cartoon.
I feel like she's, Yeah. Is this... I love Hillary. She's great.
She's a genius. Speak more on that. No, Hillary's very, I don't know.
Yeah, but I guess Petey is like, a little bit like that too. You guys, I mean, I don't think it's quite as extreme as you, but like you wouldn't necessarily know. Like I was talking to a guy and he was like, yeah, I worked with Petey in the kitchen for like a long time, and he's like quiet and kind of shy. And then I finally saw him do comedy. I was like, holy shit, that guy's doing that, So I don't know. I like that. That's kind of like... I don't know. It just interests me.
Yeah, I'm like that in the kitchens where I've worked, where I don't talk at all. And even like I'm like, these are people I work with every day, so I should have like a level of comfort with them, and I just never. I don't know. I was working at the grill for like a long time before like. I don't know how to have conversations with certain types of people. Comedians are a little bit easier.
Yeah, because you have that thing that you're shared interest in, so we're in the same club.
We're in the same club, but there's like no reason that like I should be a year into working at a place and like they don't know anything about me. Where they get like a detail every 2 months,
and then you get up and tell strangers that your dad was real ill.
Yeah,
and they're like, not the people that I.
Yeah, they don't.
Not that they would normally know these things.
They don't need.
It's not for them. There's a guy that came to one of your shows down at like one of the breweries down there a couple of years ago. Dude with red hair.
Jerry.
Yeah, he came. He knew you did comedy and came.
Yeah. I mean, they know I do comedy. That's like one that it's sort of unavoidable in the interview.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. Maybe I should try to avoid it more.
Yeah, you should tell people you do. We talked about that before. I'm like, tell people about the cool shit you do. Yeah. You're like, I've hosted shows at the Orange Peel, like
people
why
want to know, you want to brag on yourself.
And it's like you want to work with, you want interesting skilled, you want like a workplace to have all these different. It's cool when you find out somebody's got some secret skill, Get your foot in the door.
Well, it was interesting because all the boys I worked with at the last grill, one was a SoundCloud rapper, one was a actor, and one was just getting into stage wrestling, like show wrestling.
Yeah.
I go, I guess that's what I'm asking about with like the terms of content creation. It's sort of on everybody's to-do list. You can be a wrestler?
Yeah.
That's cool. I think that's cool.
No, it is cool.
But
it's very cool.
Does everybody have like this secret life where they are like, I don't know. It's a little. There's things that should be online. Stand up should be online. It should be filmed. You should like it's presentable. But then I when I hiked the Appalachian Trail, when like the first days I was out there, it was during the pandemic, so I wasn't seeing a lot of people. But there was like a couple I met, and they're like in their 50s, maybe right around 50, and they're like telling me to check out their YouTube channel, which they don't have videos on yet, but they're gonna put like. So there is like this impulse, like
that's
other
bad.
People are making content. I should be making content, and it's like you don't have to.
No,
though.
I mean I've been doing it since the fucking I don't know. It's better. To have fewer people doing it. Mm-hmm. It's getting out of hand.
It's getting out of hand, I guess, yeah. But if everybody has it's good to have your secret life, though. It's good to be creative. And if, like, the current era calls for filming it and putting it up, then it's not harmful, I guess.
No.
Maybe. It's harmful in terms of, like... It's bad to spike whatever chemical's getting spiked when I released the special.
Yeah.
And like you get a lot of good feedback and then you get no good feedback and then you're in this like swamp of bad mood.
Yeah. It's supposed to happen right after a big pop though,
Yeah.
After the big I think that's normal. Like after the special it's supposed to go you're absolutely supposed to be like, oh shit, what if I can never write another one again? And like that's part of the
right,
the self-doubt and you had this thing to work towards and everybody came and then just like it's suddenly gone, you're just alone and it feels like it didn't happen.
Right.
Like that's good for it. I think that's like
also I quit comedy for like for like 3 months before the special came out. Not after it was filmed, but like between Asheville Comedy Festival and when the special was released. It didn't really come out at all.
Yeah.
And so I had this like very good thing I was proud of. And then also I was very rusty. I was very like not living up to my expectations on stage, for myself. So that, like, I think that wounded me a little bit. Like, if I kept practicing and the special was released and then I was able to crush that night at the Pulp, it would have felt a little better. A little better, not much better, but
it's never going to be exactly the way you want.
Yeah,
it
that's
seemed
true.
like it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I that's one thing. The prison of your own making, like the notion that you have to just get up every week forever, and there's other people coming. They're going to be, if you're not doing it, like, I'm really trying to, like, I don't mind. I like making content.
Yeah.
The way I do it, I enjoy this, but like having to feel like I have to do it because of like the scarcity mentality, like I'm going to lose my spot. Like I think that is unhealthy. Like, and I kind of struggle with that. That like, you know, you can't, because I took off like 3 months, a couple of years ago. And it was like, then I really came back. That was when I really started to get like more focused. And I think it is good to step away, live life, have experiences, not just be at open mics all the time.
That's true. And my friend Joseph was like posting on Facebook about, like, he took like a month. He hadn't done comedy in a month and a half, and is like, is that like something to worry about? And like, how do you find work-life balance? And I think my advice was like comedy. I think comedy is like one of the easier ones to step away from, because I would say it's like half writing and half performing. And so as long as you're writing a little bit and performing in some context, it's not necessarily stand up. And contra dance, I think that's like a type of performance, and I can be aware of my physicality and stuff. You know, you're not on the path, you're not on the stand-up path, but like the little GPS guy's still moving in the right direction.
And you're disappearing into a room where people are engaged. I mean, is dancing that different than a comedy show?
That's right.
At its best, I think we're all just it's the same shared experience.
Right. I just think you can like fall off on other art forms that are less. Stand-up's a very economic-friendly art form. It's like cheap. You just need a place to do it.
Yeah. You don't need like
equipment,
drum set, and
yeah. And so like it's just one of the easier, not easier, but less
low overhead.
Low overhead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, you should quit for a little bit every once in a while, probably. And you just like want to start from like a different point. You know, that's like that was my idea about stopping comedy for a while, is like I had this master set list that I was like that worked very well for the special, but it was too regimented, and so I'd write a new joke and then I would just like plug and play, like, what joke do I take out of this master list and put the new joke in? And that's sort of what stand-up is, but I just wanted to start over instead of...
It was feeling like exhausting instead of fun, maybe.
Exhausting
like,
instead of fun, and like...
Sometimes you kind of get yourself onto a path that's like, you just start doing it, and there's a lot of momentum, and you're like, I don't even like doing it this way. I need to like...
Yeah, I don't like doing it this way.
Destroy this version of me that's doing it.
Yeah.
Give it some time and then come at it.
And I'd still like to find a way to bomb in a more interesting way than just write jokes that are bad.
Like, what can you say, like an example?
There's more. There used to be. I know I'm very loud, but there used to be more screaming. There used to be more volume.
Yeah.
I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
I think there was more like,
disagreeing with them.
Yeah. Okay.
Wrestling with them.
You want to be more like that again?
Yeah.
I think it's gotten a lot better. But that's my taste.
I just want
That's my taste.
I want to crawl out of the swamp again. Get hosed off.
You feel like being that might be one of the reasons you want to be a new person in a new place, that you don't have like the goodwill or is that because you seem like you're pretty focused on wanting to be in a different place, like, which, you know, you'll have to kind of earn your way to the front of the line again.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Is that kind of does that kind of like speak to like what you're looking for with bombing in new ways, like just moving to a new city, a way to?
It's just and I think that's like yes to your question, but it is like scary that like, do I just know how to make comics like me? It's not like an audience thing. So much of comedy scenes is like the social aspect, and you like just know how to press the buttons in the right order to make the comics like you, and then you just get elevated above your station sometimes. Particularly for me.
Yeah, like maybe you I'm just guessing, like, maybe you're saying, like, sometimes when you're at the auditorium and it's just you and, like, 15 comics who really, like, respect you and already love you before you get up, that you might not be able to trust the laughs in the same way as when you go to some new place and nobody knows who the fuck you are. And if you get a laugh, you're like you kind of want more of that. Is that kind of what you're saying? Or
that's sort of what I'm saying. Yeah, that's definitely what I'm saying is that, but I'm also trying to think about like the auditorium with 15 comics. You still got to play to the not comics, but the comics like when I play to the not comics because I'm a little mean.
Yeah.
But if it's just comics, I can put a stinker on the board. I can put a big old goose egg on the board. But if there's like two people in there, I can sort of trick the comics into thinking that this is good.
Yeah. So yeah, it seems like you're like we talk about like goals and stuff. Like your comedy goals are like kind of more, I don't know, just like make it harder on yourself. I don't know. Like
I hate bombing. Do I hate bombing? I hate bombing
in the same ways that you've bombed before.
I hate trying and bombing. I hate like if it's going if it's supposed to be bad and they're not liking it. That's a negative times a negative. That's success. That's positive. But if it's trying to be good and I'm bombing,
slow that down. Okay.
If I'm being antagonistic and I have decided to be antagonistic and they're taking it as antagonism, that's a win.
And what would like cause you to make that choice? Like, would you be like, I don't like this crowd, or I'm just in a mood, or like, what?
I'm in a mood. Based on me not liking them.
Is it kind of like a Bill Hicks thing or something, or you kind of your taste for comedy is a little bit more like it needs to be. You're like the best form of comedy is like it's got to be bad. It's more real if it's bad sometimes. Like it's like if you're. That's almost a question. I'm trying to form the question. Like you kind of, you know what I mean? Like by Bill Hicks, right? Because he's like not really necessarily
good at comedy.
He's not got any jokes. So. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I feel like
in black and he was mean.
I feel like he was a little like before and after, where he's like not. He's like, oh, nobody even likes this. Well, that's going to be its own new kind of joke that I'm going to just keep going to like way farther. And you see, there's like a lot of people. I don't know. I didn't really get the question out, but I guess I'm just kind of curious what like antagonism. I don't think I've ever even really thought about not, trying to be like, oh, we'll see how bad we can make this shit, But then you do feel like at the other end of that, there's some double negative math where like if you go around to the left far enough, you're on the right, or like.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm being pretentious. I am being pretentious. I just want to be weirder.
Yeah, your comedy's weird.
I want to be weirder.
Because who was I talking with that about like cleanliness, and it's like Cody is clean if you like, but there's something about the aesthetic of it that I feel like it's like an older crowd might think you're not clean, even though you didn't say anything about drugs or sex or curse, because there's just something about the way you do it that kind of is not. It's like maybe a little threatening to like if you have an old sense of what a setup punch is, I don't know. No,
I did a show with Andy Forrester in the Triangle a few weeks ago, and he told me I was weird but funny. Like I don't. That the job is it's a creative writing job. I'm doing it. The jokes make sense. Mm-hmm. They're not. It's not absurdism, in my opinion. I'm still walking you through the beats of the joke.
Yeah.
But it's your failing if you think I'm weird.
Weird's good though. I mean, my fear is that I'm going to be like the club comic who's at the opposite end, or that's what I'm, Like Maria Bamford's weird, and like, I don't know, whoever's like at the Comedy Zone a lot of the time
is not weird.
Yeah, it's like set up punch in the way that is not threatening anyone's like it's almost kind of scary for old folks to not know why people are laughing. Like there's like, what's wrong with me? There's like a lot of things happening with that. And I think some of your punchlines do kind of hint at absurdity, but yeah, I think ultimately it's like you're doing jokes. but your punchlines are like more modern and evolved, where they're it's a little less clear why. Some people are like misdirection punch, and you're like, it's just a kind of a pattern that you can kind of reverse engineer.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you kind of do it a little bit more like Maria Bamford or somebody like that, where it's like it's just a little more at the avant-garde edge of things. And I think that can just sort of inherently threaten older audiences, but they're all going to be dead in 20 years anyway. So
why be dead?
Yeah, you shouldn't just be trying to please them.
That's true. I don't know. I would like to improv more, but I'd also like more bangers.
A banger just means a big laugh.
A banger means one I can say in my sleep.
Okay.
Has to be a banger on my side of things too. Which, if a joke's good, it becomes a banger pretty quick because you just know the words to it.
Yeah.
But it just sucks to go to Seneca, South Carolina, and you go, well, it's not a nuance night. It's not a nuance night. I don't want to ruin the show for my friend who's booked it. So it's just going to be hello, fellow human, nice guy, scary guy, dog food, Doubting Thomas.
And when you're doing that, do you kind of feel like you kind of not emotionally as, for you, you're not as alive and in it as it would be if you...
Not as alive and in it. No, I mean, I guess it depends. Like I was saying, there's the musicality element of it where it is fun to perform, at least. At the very least, I've written some jokes that are fun to perform. Closer's fun to perform. Hello, fellow humans, fun to perform.
When you say fun, you mean you look forward to doing the voice of the kid, or these little beats
Hello,
that you're...
fellow human? No, I just get to be in it. I know it's going to go well. It feels more three-dimensional.
Yeah.
Instead of I hope they like this one that works 80% of the time. I hope they're not the 20%. Where you the closer you get to a 97%, the closer you get to a 100% joke, the more comfort you feel in performing it, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's I haven't been doing it as long as you, so I mean, I don't even know if I really feel like I have my first real banger, honestly. I think the jokes for me that are work more consistently or always get something are the shorter kind of setup punch jokes. But then I feel like I don't really like doing the jokey jokes. I've just mostly done that, Kid on a scooter, Cinderella, Kill Bill. It's I'll do those when I need to, but I would like to find more new kind of weird places that are, I don't even know why they're laughing. That's why I like the some of the laughs that come from a first time you're trying a joke and you're fumbling and you get laughs in places you didn't expect. To me, that's exciting. It's ooh, what happened there? This feels new. This feels like growth.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas definitely saying a joke I've been saying for 5 years, I don't even know that I might make a connection with the booker and get invited back, but really it's I drove all the way down there to say the shit I've already said 100 times. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard, and you don't want to be too strategic about it. You don't want to be too analytical about it, where it's taking the life out of it. Where you go, this has been my resolution before. I'm sure I told you where it's in town, I'm only going to do new stuff, and then out of town, I'm going to do I had pay levels of out of town for a paying audience, I'm going to do the best stuff.
Yeah.
And in town for a paying audience, I'm going to do the B stuff. And then free audience, I'm going to do the C stuff. And it just doesn't, I don't know, that takes the life out of it too, right?
Because you have a system you got to adhere to. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of the loose guidelines kind of working for me a little bit. I'm still I'm doing some shows next month. I got some 10-minute spots in Nashville. And it's well, okay, I definitely want that 10 minutes to be mostly shit I've written in the last year. If I go and spend that 10 minutes on things I've been saying for the last 5 years, it's not even me now that wrote those. But then you also want to try to crush so you get invited back.
Right.
So yeah, but I do feel at the odd on Tuesday night, it should be all things I've never said before, or something brand new that I'm trying a new tag on.
Oh, for sure.
I feel there are the good different levels where it's the farther you get from your home base, the more it makes sense to lean on what's worked.
Yeah, and it's the job of it, where it is you went there to do a job, And so you got to do the job.
And you want to know if your tried and true, most consistent material works outside at home too, because a lot of times, you are still getting a new experience, and that you're like, well, now I'm farther from home than I've ever been. I wonder if that joke will still work the same.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of nights where I just make. Do you ever feel like you made the wrong decision, and you sort of knew it ahead of time, but then you still make the wrong decision?
Yeah, I mean, less and less as I'm trying to just be more riff and be more experimental. I feel like that's, for me, always a good choice.
Yeah.
Like, even if it goes badly, like, that's what I need, is to take more risks.
Mm-hmm. But, like, for a paid show out of town, has there ever been, like, a bomb that you, like, knew ahead of time? You just didn't trust your gut. I don't trust my gut a lot, and then I pay for it.
I mean, it's more the way I can relate to that more is I'll listen back and I'll be like, I said I would take more pauses. I said I would slow down and do more crowd work, but I can hear on the recording that I'm going a little too fast, that I'm just, a little too memorized. And it's like, I just kind of lost my commitment to myself to be with them, allowing pauses. That person said that thing. I should have stopped what I was doing and gone with it. Those are kind of the corrections that I go, I didn't quite live up to my commitment to, get out of my comfort zone.
Right. Yeah. You sort of let yourself down.
But I mean, I don't really have that. Like, I feel like I got 30 clean, and and then I got like 40, 45 if you want to go like all of it that I can still do. And then it's like, so I don't really have that much of a choice. When you start getting out of town doing like 30 clean, it's like, well, I don't really have that much of a
wiggle room.
Yeah, but if I'm like, okay, I have a new anxiety thing, I'm definitely gonna do some of that. Like, there's gonna be some new shit in there, and I'm gonna really, before I go up, I'm like, if someone says a thing, stop, fuck that bet, do some crowd work, be in the moment. Those are kind of more the
rules. Your current rule set.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or how I judge myself on the ride home, because I'm definitely thinking about it on the ride home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll come
Some
back.
people don't think about it on the ride home.
You think?
Not productively.
Yeah.
No, I think no. There's definitely guys who are there and not, and just water off a duck's back, right? Am I wrong?
You mean they
There's
just do it and then they're
comics, Ryan.
let's go to the bar.
50% of them not thinking about it.
Yeah.
They go, ooh, and then gone.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, a lot of this is and the reason for being interested in this podcast is like, what the fuck are other people thinking? Because it can be kind of a lonely thing in a way. I mean, and I think the more you travel, the more it becomes lonely, which is weird. You're not just with people, Like, once all you guys leave, I'm going to have no one to stand next to at the mic. I'm going to start meeting some of these people that are 20 years younger than me. So, because part of being out at the mic is like having conversations like this and figuring out how other people even look at it.
Well, it's like I was asking you the other night where it's like, should I be in the circle? Should I go talk with the circle of young comics? So your anxiety of like, who am I going to stand next to? The people you stand next to aren't even in the circle. So you couldn't even do it now and like it'd be the same experience now as doing it when me and James and whoever
you and James are over in the corner and I'm like, well, I'll just go bother him, Yeah.
It'd be the same sort of like, am I cool?
Yeah. And walking up
to riffing?
Walking up to one person's, it's like you were saying, once you get 2 or 3 people around, it becomes a different thing too.
Yeah, and then I always just like focus on Petey because that circle will form around us, and I'll just be like, I was talking to my friend. I'm going to keep talking to my friend. I'll do my best to make eye contact with other people in the circle, but I'm going to be here for 4 minutes.
And then you get like 3 new comics that are like, actually, here's the way you should do it. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Petey and Cody were saying some things that we could all learn from.
Yeah, Yeah, people should be, I don't know. It's good to start developing opinions about how things should work, but also people should be more open to. I don't want to give feedback. I don't want to talk to people about their comedy.
They ask you
before 100 sets.
Do people go like, Cody, which of my jokes?
Yeah, definitely. But I think,
can you make your voice be about me? Because I like your voice and I want you to.
Yeah, I think people should be more open to like, people should like ask how to run shows and stuff, but I don't I don't know. I don't really
infrastructure questions, not me questions.
Yeah,
like how can I get a show going that would help the community?
Yeah, you go and no one's ever asked how long should a comedy show be, and then they're running these 2.5 hour comedy shows, and you go wrong.
Yeah, 90.
75.
Yeah.
If there's no professionals on the show.
Oh yeah, when you go and you're like, who's on it? It's like 2 comics. Oh, better. Like 3. Yes. Yeah. It's like there should never be more than 3 comedians on any show. I mean, I don't know. I think the 10-minute Don't Tell showcase things can be all right. 6 10-minute sets or whatever.
Yeah, but I just if there's no one professional on the show, you just want to leave them with a good taste in their mouth.
But then it's like I really want to do more 45-minute sets so I can learn how to fill that space. And then I find like twice a year when I get a chance to do something like that, the show no one even comes, is at the boiler room, but like I'm drawing pictures and arrows and I'm developing new material to connect to those two. So it's like I really want that for me selfishly, but I know the show will be better. 45 minutes, what's good for me and what's good for the shared experience is not always the same, but sometimes you do have to try to create these situations where you can get better.
I always thought it would be a good idea if there was like a buddy system, and I've never said this to anybody, but if you just like team up with somebody else in the scene and you run 2 types of shows, one where you think you thrive and one where they think they thrive, and then you host the alternate show for them so that you can have your ideal, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like people should just be, I don't know, more collaborative, because it's hard. Like I want this kind of experience, but if I'm engineering this kind of experience, then I'm going to be expected to host, and that's not, it's just a rule, and you can break that rule. But usually, like people starting shows, they're doing I don't know, it's hard to like create it's hard to create an experience for your growth. But that's okay.
It's almost like randomness or things that, like, if you can plan it, then it's it's the shit that you wouldn't have planned or wanted that might end up being more of. So
it's always, starting shows has always been selfish. You start shows so other people book you on shows.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool if there was a way to streamline the selfishness and just run a show where you're the guy who gets to do the time that you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's possible, and people do it.
I hate running shows. I never want to run one again. The thing that makes me the most uncomfortable is you start choosing which order you put people on your show, and then it starts getting weird. People start being nicer to you than they were because they want to get on your show. People start being pissy with you because you're on your third show, and I'm not fucking on it, and they were. It's like, for me, that's just so uncomfortable. It's like, it's everything I don't want. I don't want to be a gatekeeper.
Right.
I want to be picked by the gatekeepers. And that hurts when that just mostly what comedy is not getting picked,
That's true. But out of town, you've sort of experienced some sort of, it's not as negative as you might expect, right?
Yeah.
You have you set your expectations low.
And I still, like, for the shows that you see me doing out of town, there's so many more.
How many?
That have asked
What's the ratio? What's the ratio?
Of, like what I'll get booked on versus, man, I don't even, it's like.
But do people say no, or they just don't get back to you?
I would say, like, at least half never respond.
Never respond.
And then of the ones that respond, it's very, small number that, like, but a lot of times it's like, well, my show's not during those dates, so
right.
Or they just try this person, it's the name you've already got or whatever. So yeah, just the success rate of getting the show for the email, I'd say like maybe like 1 in 10, or I don't know, I'm just making up numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that's part of it. It's like that's the same ratio for the jokes that work. I get up and try 10 jokes, and like one of them might go in there. It's probably even less than that. So it's like you just have to accept that you're going to fail a lot, and I like that, and that's kind of what rubs me the wrong way when it's like, I've been doing comedy for 6 months, I've been doing it for a year, how come I'm not getting on shows? It's like, it takes longer than that,
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself to the one person you started with who's getting on all the shows. There's always that person around that got good at it quick, or just knows how to form relationships. And don't compare yourself to that one person,
right?
Or they like figured out how to run a don't tell so they can do all that. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. But like last Wednesday, definitely like I came and I was like, I'm not gonna ask when I'm going up, and I sat there in the back and I went like, I mean, it was I was like, this is good and this is very humbling to be. I'm like, I'm here, but no one notices. At the end, I think that's kind of necessary. I think when I do put up a thing, it's like, look, I'm doing some out of town shows on my tour. It's like, your scene does kind of need to like knock you down a little. It's like, you think you're all that? You ain't shit.
Right.
Like that's good. It's good for me. It hurts, but it's good. It's good to not get picked.
It's good to not get
picked. It really tests why you're doing it, because like, are you just doing it because you're getting stuff? You got to be able to keep doing it when you're getting passed over. You got to keep putting the...
Yeah. And it's okay to quit.
Yeah. I think everyone should quit. I mean...
No, I'm just saying if you get passed over a lot.
Yeah.
If you get passed over enough, you can also take some feedback and see if it's really worth it to you. I do like open mics a great deal. And that sort of has been good for my longevity. I like seeing my friends. I like trying new stuff. But, it's not fiscally worth it. Yeah.
There's something about the open mics that is very, like, starting to get to do more shows, and it's like, wow, a lot of these rooms are just, like, rich, old people.
Right.
And you're like, the odd is, even though it's just 5 minutes, there's something very different happening here than, like, a bunch of 20-minute sets for those old people with money.
What do you think they're all worthwhile?
Yeah.
But it does... When you see 60% gray hair, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, I do well with those crowds, and that's part of my fuck is I'm like, that's not, I don't want to become just that kind of comic.
Yeah.
That's,
I feel it.
Because there's going to be a future of what's left, that's not going to age as well as.
Yeah. I have the opposite fuck.
Yeah.
We go, I could have gone dancing. I could have gone to a movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's good to get good, but older people don't really know how to process me.
We did the show, Jeremy Alder's show at that place. That was like, you destroyed there. Like, they really got you.
Helen has a theory that old women do like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I'm wrong. And I have a bias. I have a...
just the older women.
I know I get compliments from older guys. It's just I'm being prejudiced. I'm seeing a type of hair, and I go, I bet, I bet they're the type of old person I know, and they're not sometimes.
Like a conservative type person.
Like a conservative type person. A Christian type person it's fine. There's just been old people in my life who haven't, they don't know how to deal with an awkward man.
Yeah, and there's some things that you must be aware that when you're like, it's weird the police get to kill us or whatever. That there's which you don't say many things that are divisive.
Yeah.
But you have a choice to make when you're like, you're trying to figure like.
Guys, that's just a segue to this next little joke. Don't worry, I'm only saying this because it gets me to the next thing.
Yeah, because I did a show for a bunch of old vets last week, and I just had one joke about the vaccine. And as soon as I just said that word, I could feel it get weird. Just naming a divisive topic.
Mm-hmm. But it get weird because they're all 100% against you.
Do you think?
Those old guys.
Yeah.
Do you think? Well, no, I don't know. Old guys got vaccinated.
Yeah, you're old, so it's kind of interesting when it's like,
vaccinated.
that's the point where you're like, maybe you won't tell anybody else they're all vaccinated, but they're pretending like they're not or something.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting sort of thing where I don't know. I don't know what type of... old people, they're going to be dead soon. That's the takeaway, is that they're going to be dead soon, so you don't have to write comedy to cater to them.
I mean, I think it's bad to go too far the other way, too, because I do have respect for people that have lived the life, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know. You have your concerns about what you could become, and I think for me it's becoming like the dad, older dad comic, and I think the Odd is a nice place to go every week because it's the room that I feel comfortable there, and it's as far away from that as possible.
Yeah. It is an old guy art form, though.
Stand up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of
white dude in
I
a
think
suit.
we cherish young guys coming in, young girls coming in, but they're not. They're trickling in, but then the guys who start are all 32-year-olds, and you go, we're full. If you can come back and be 21, that'd be great. But we're sort of full of we're full of the guys in their 30s who
I know.
are just starting now.
Yeah. Yeah, you should wait till you're 35 to start.
That's right.
Everybody does that.
No, but now you're in a nice age range.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's like a popular art form with the kids.
Yeah.
And so they're not as many of them are wanting to do
Stand up?
I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think stand up's popular with the kids? I mean, I guess I wouldn't. We have a lot of 20-somethings now.
I don't think we do.
Really?
Do
Maybe
we?
they're all like late 20s. Everyone's always like 28 to 32 for some reason.
Uh-huh.
Like it's always mostly that.
Yeah.
And then people like leave. But I kind of thought a lot of the new crop was like 25 or less. Like
that'd be great if they were.
yeah.
Are the Dante seems young.
Yeah. I don't know any of their names. No, I know their names.
Ryan's my age. Mara's my age.
Yeah, I guess maybe you're right. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think it's I don't think it's I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it is something to behold. Like you, Petey, James. I mean, that's obviously like it's better to start young and then keep doing it, and then you've like got
it's good to keep doing it.
a couple decades. Yeah, I don't know. We should probably wrap up soon.
Okay.
Wonder if I have anything here that we didn't cover. I don't know. I think we've been doing it for like 2 hours.
Great.
You think that's good enough?
I think it's great.
All right. Well, thanks for
Good
coming
luck
by.
cutting it down.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm using these mics is because I shouldn't really have to cut out anything except when they came in and stuff.
Okay.
I probably just leave it all.
I think it's great.
And then I'll look for like a little real moment, like a little fun moment to do like a promo for it.
Do the Josh and Carlos.
Just that.
Just anytime.
They still don't find out.
To be honest, you should just make clips of all the times where you mention people by name.
And tag them.
Well, yeah.
Probably get some views for a change.
Narcissism. Play to it.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Ryan.